because the call of the heart is just so strong. And to have the sincerity and commitment to keep facing life, to keep facing all that life brings forward, and to keep unwinding, unraveling, and allowing the recalibration to happen. And just to keep showing up for God and glory so consistently is so magical. And what I've become aware of is how powerful it is, and true power. And that true power is love. And the true power of our joining and the reverberant field, the frequency of the reverberant field of that, and how it is a power that can really shift the way that life is lived, and not only for us, but for the whole of humanity as a collective consciousness. And that we've always known this. We've always known this. And it's part of the incredible sincerity of our gathering, is that we're so called by the service to the whole. We recognize, and that by just living our lives in a deeply conscious and integrated way, with a willingness and courage to face what life offers and shows us as a revealing of a deeper seeing of our own unconscious hiding places, and to keep integrating those places, bringing all that we are into the light, into the deep remembrance of the wholeness of who we are, by recognizing that it's not about transcending and getting away from life, but that life itself is the fuel, the Guru's grace. Life itself is that which sets us free. And as it sets us free, it sets the whole of humanity free from the illusion of separation, the great dream of division and limitation. And that it's truly through the lived experience that we are in service, and we are the change that all beings are longing for, but many don't know how. And there's a lot of misguided ideas about how to be the change through doership and using power, and that this life is this opportunity to discover that the real power is love, and love alone. That only the power of love can actually bring about change, the change that all beings are longing for in their heart, which is really the shift from fear to love, from division and limitation and a sense and belief that there is a possibility of being apart from God and glory, to actually live this reality. And that we have the possibility in every moment here now to live this reality. And as we live it, we are it. We are a reverberant field of it. And that is the greatest power that there is to be a living, walking, reverberant field of love, to be the light for the world, in the world, to illuminate the world as many imagine it is a dream of separation. And that in truth, reality it's exactly what we are living, but without the fear and the shame and the doubt and the guilt and the sacrifice. It's living the fullness, and in a way seeing and receiving the parts of us that are held in unconscious guilt and shame and doubt and divisive thinking and fear and stress, but not by trying to get away from the parts that we don't find, maybe through our mental interpretation, as holy or sacred, that we actually realize that what holy is of course wholeness. And it's the all-encompassing technology of love. It's the ability, the power of the ability and willingness to truly include everything, right? We know this. We know this on the deepest level because it's truth, it's reality. It's the song of the heart, of the soul. It's the light, wisdom light that we already know. And so as the words come, it's not about learning or believing something new. It's about awakening and enlivening the power of intuitive knowing of the heart, enlivening and really remembering on a resonant level what we do know, the wisdom of the heart, and the capacity that we have within us to be the light, to be the love, and to live this. And we live it not by trying to create a different experience. We live it by living the life that we are creating. The consciousness is creating exactly the circumstances that will free us and untangle the tendrils of belief and conditioning that are entangled into the collective fear and limitation, and bring about a shifting, changing of perspective in our own life, and a shifting and changing of frequency to the finer frequencies of the heart's knowing of wholeness. So the wisdom of the field that comes forward as the message hasn't changed. It doesn't change. It's the same. It's always been the same. It's the timeless truth, right? It's not like, oh, you go to a foreign land and you find a new teaching, a new truth. Not at all. You realize how profoundly simple it is and how it's always been here. And in a way, just the opportunity to face ourselves in whatever life is offering us and wherever we are on this crazy globe of planet Earth, that it's about living life with exactly what's in front of us, right? It's not fancy. And yet somehow it's so incredibly deep. It's so profound and it's so intimate to come to the opportunities that life offers us to meet ourselves in different circumstances. And sometimes we are invited out of the comfort zone of life. And the comfort zone of life and being invited out, yes, it can be about some kind of travel into a different environment, but it can also be about stresses and challenges that arise just in general life, in health issues, relationship issues, whatever, work dynamics, living dynamics. We're taken out of our comfort zone in every moment that we're invited to face ourselves, where something in us may want to say no, where something in us may want to resist, where we might feel some fear or trepidation. And we have this possibility to face the parts of us that are unconscious and are holding the stresses. I was smiling to myself last evening as I was laying in my very comfortable bed here in Bali. And I recalled how I shared with you quite a few months ago about the night of the storm where I couldn't get home to Cortez. And I ended up in a hotel on Quadra. in the uncomfortable bed and the lumpy pillow. And that was, in a way, my first initiation that started the chain of events that carried me on the next adventure and into the land of hotels, and carried me then towards India. And I smiled as I realized that since I left Cortez, I've not had an uncomfortable bed or a lumpy pillow. It's been smooth sailing and dreamy comfort the whole way, even in India, and staying in quite a few different places. I carry my own sheet, towel, and travel pillow, and I haven't used any of them, which is quite extraordinary. But it was making me smile because it's such a reflection of what it is to be creating from the frequency of love and openness, right? And that when we open and we don't resist, that life is supporting us, that the divine is supporting us. And in the moments where, I'd be like sniffing the towels to see if they have a stinky laundry detergent, it hasn't been that there hasn't been the odd mishap, or I haven't had to ask for things to be, washed with a special detergent. And it hasn't been that my laundry didn't get returned once with stinky detergent and we had to find a solution for that. But it's the moments of where it feels like, oh no, that we say, oh yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. And these little ways that life offers us an opportunity to meet ourselves. And of course, some of them are very mundane. And yet it's often those mundane circumstances that have the power to capsize the boat. But of course, life offers us all kinds of circumstances. And it's just a recognition that whatever life is offering us is an opportunity. And that living this truth is the truth. It's the same truth wherever we are, whatever is in front of us. That the grass is not greener anywhere else. In the play of separation, in the dream, the green grass is in the here now, in recognizing that the lushness is an open heart, a wide, infinite, boundless heart that says yes to it all, right? And that it doesn't all fall apart in the ways that we imagine that it's going to if we step out of the comfort zone. If there was something else that I would share, would be that if you have something burning in your heart that is calling you and you're not saying yes to it, I would so deeply invite that you answer the call and you follow the truth of the heart, because just as Joseph Campbell shared about following your bliss and doors opening that you could not imagine. That's a paraphrase, not a quote. It's been such an incredible beyond words opportunity to be so far out of the comfort zone of Cortez paradise and just have everything that keeps this one comfortable taken away, and to discover the magic of how beautiful life is, even without my own bed and my own pillow, right? That's just metaphor. It's just reflection. So I would say that if the divine invitation is calling you to something that feels beyond what you could imagine, could possibly happen. Just open to the divine call, and don't try to work out how. Just say yes to what your heart is inviting you into. And whether that's adventure, whether that's relationship, whether that is greater abundance and flow, whether that is just being able to face yourself more fully and deeply, whatever it is, it's like nothing is out of reach. All that's in the way is a veil of the mind, believing that somehow I can't, or it's not possible, or how would I make it work? It's such an invitation to realize that if the divine call is there, then the divine means is also there, right? Has to be. That's the equation. If the divine call is there, the divine means is also in the flow of life. And it's not about working out how and planning and controlling. It's about just saying yes to what the heart is being called to. And this is true in any and every circumstance of life, right? That in truth we never know how. We don't know how to live this life, not from a place that wants to stay safe. We don't know how. We never have known how. We imagine that we have some kind of skill, and on a certain level, we have experience, and yet so often experience keeps us bound and doesn't actually allow us to fully live the glory of what this life is for. However free we feel, there's more freedom. There's more freedom. There's more joy. There's more grace. There's just more of everything that is exuberant and gracious and beautiful. And we don't have to work out how, and we don't have to come to a place of feeling worthy or even ready. Because all of these ideas, the how, creating the right timing, again, if the divine call is in place, the divine means and the divine timing is also in place. And it's always now. It's always right now. And all of us will have circumstances of life where we have said yes, and we recognize the wow of saying yes. And maybe taking a step into the unknown that calls forward some fear or resistance, calls forward some doubt. And yet we recognize that when we take the step anyway, and we allow those feelings to be present, that we open beyond. It's like we break through glass ceilings. We break through the veils of protection that are not actually keeping us safe. They're actually keeping us from life. Right? Life is trying to live itself in the fullest and truly wildest way through us. And we know that. And in a way, the deepest longing of the heart is to be living the fullness of that, right? Is to be singing and dancing uninhibited, to be able to love and be loved, and to experience love in the fullest way, and to truly shine, right? To shine the radiance of the wide open heart right on the surface. We're not here to protect and hold ourselves back. and to kind of live a life of what the mind imagines is a good life, a good, safe life, right? Leave a legacy from the good, safe life. It's truly about living the fullness and wildness and not leaving a stone unturned, so that the all-encompassing technology of love and the brilliance of a light that is in full beam illumination is shining in the center of our beingness, of the center of the heart's knowingness, and that there's no direction that we're afraid to turn, no direction, in, out, up, down, backwards, forwards, all around. There's no direction that truly the all-encompassing technology of all-inclusive, all-encompassing love is that there's no area that is in limitation or lack. It's about being in the joy of life in the fullest way that isn't like a pleasure or pain dance of cause and effect and opposites, where we're constantly trying to maintain a certain kind of experience, but that every lived moment is the openness to be in the joy and wildness of life, whatever it brings. And in a way, this is the invitation of life. And that's why we would speak about, well, where in my life am I not free? Where do I feel held back? What is not working? What feels hard? And can I open to these places instead of trying to amplify the places that feel good? Can I open to the places, and not in a kind of excavating and trying to psychoanalyze and work it out, but just in the moments of life where we feel resistance or held back? Can we recognize, okay, great glory, I'm right on the edge here, and I'm saying yes. I'm saying yes to the possibility of meeting myself here, and not falling back into a mental idea of safety, but stepping into the safety of what you have planned for this one, right? And discovering what it is to open to divine grace and guidance and flow as a life truly and fully lived. It can be such a huge part of the spiritual life to create a mental idea of the circumstances you need to achieve in order to feel and be free or awake or ready. That in a way, it's another way of protecting. And so much of the so-called spiritual life can be about strategizing of how to hide in a seeming spiritual way. But of course, so much of spirituality is actually caught in the delusion of Kali Yuga. And if spirituality is causing us to feel held, bound, imprisoned in our spiritual life, and that we don't actually feel free and wild to move in the ways that feel unrestricted and unlimited, then it's very likely that we've created a spiritual strategy to keep ourselves safe, with an idea that, oh, when I awaken, if I reach enlightenment, then I'll be free. Then I'll have achieved the purpose of this life. But so much of that, and within the great misinterpretations of the non-dual teachings, is actually about creating division and limitation that is still holding a false sense of safety within the mental constructs and interpretations. It's time to break free of all of those ideas, to really see the places that we, within the context of a spiritual journey, that we're being invited by love into the fullness of recovery from spirituality, and to actually start living reality right now, not in an idea of a future when I'm ready, but to open right here now to the glory of God in the heart, the consciousness that is already the brilliance and brightness of the Christ, that's already the brilliant and brightness of love in its fullness, right here now in the presence of the field, at the frequency that is just open and willing. It's like a portal. It's like now is the moment. Awakeness is now. Awakeness is not an experience that happened in the past or is going to happen in the future or something to aspire to. Awakeness is now. Enlightenment is now. It's about being the light that illuminates all of the places in life that I'm not quite ready to leave my spiritual nest and my sadhana or my practices and all of the ways that I hold myself as a spiritual person that isn't actually free, right? This is about freedom. This is about love. This is about the glory and living the glory. It's not about the promise of the glory and creating the right conditions. It's about the glory is now. The glory is not hiding. The glory is not an exclusive club. The glory is not a spiritual practice. It's not a very special place that only a few are invited to. The glory is now. The glory is the living reality of this moment. And it's not about being ready in a way of achieving the circumstances that the mind thinks, then I'll be safe, then I'll be free, then I'll be ready. It's about this moment here now, facing life in full openness, full beam. Because the full beam has the power to illuminate what we think is unwelcome, the shame and the guilt and the doubt. The full beam of a radiant heart here now has the power to illuminate what seems to be the darkness, the ignorance, the conditioning, the protection in the life. The full beam has the power to hold it, love it, welcome it, include it, and illuminate, and to reveal that the light is hiding in shape and condition and protection. And when the light shines upon what's hiding, the revealing is that everything is the same. And our beliefs and our protections and our conditionings collapse into a greater depth, a greater wideness, expansiveness of openness of heart, where we recognize that the technology that includes it all is already here, that it's already divinely wired within our functioning. Our nervous system is wired, consciousness, the nervous system is consciousness that is wired to live this reality right here now and not aspire to it. And yet, why not feel inspired? inspired in this moment, here now. Not an aspiration in the future, but an inspiration right now to live this freedom and to really honor and celebrate what the heart already knows. That where there's a seeker, there is the finding. Where there's a longing, there is fulfillment. It's all one. So again, if the divine call is here, the divine means is here. If the divine longing is here, the divine fulfillment is here. In the fullness, there is no lack. It's not like, oh, I really, really long for that, and it's just not possible. If there's a longing for it, it's right here, just as whatever nature brings us that seems to be an imbalance has its antidote and balancing and harmony within the same field of nature. All of life is one whole. It's not a play of cause and effect. It's not a play of these are the hard circumstances and we have to try to find a solution and fix it. When we open to include the whole field, we realize that we have available to us the absolute fullness of the wisdom field. So in a way, the fix isn't a mental idea where we have to know how to fix. The resolution is in the openness to include everything, because then nature flows to rebalance and harmonize. So the true fix, the true safety, the true resolution isn't a cause and effect game of trying to find how to. It's about opening to realize that nature's got this, and it's opening to include the whole field that is moving as one. And when we stop moving as a me that feels to be divided and limited and separated from the whole, that we actually start to open to the whole fully resourced field. We're resourced from the divine, and we are resourced in abundance and flow and fullness. There is no lack, there is no scarcity. The way of the divine, of wholeness, is a constant harmonizing and rebalancing. And it's not that we don't go out of balance here and there. It's a dance. Life is a dance. We go a little bit out of balance and life flows and rebalances, right? It's the way of nature, right? We look to nature to give us the reflection that it's not about a fix out there. It's about a harmonizing and balancing in our frequency field that opens to the whole, to receive the fullness of what is possible, that everything can be healed, everything in life can be rebalanced. And it's about, within our lived experience, opening to recognize that the keys are here, and it's about unlocking, turning over the stone that we're afraid to turn over, opening up the closet that we're afraid to go into the dark, deep depths of, the corner, the cobwebby corner. It's about being willing to meet those seeming edges of life. And that life is constantly offering us these opportunities. And the magic and the light and the glory that already is waiting in these places that seem like, I don't know how to work with that. I don't know how to be with that. I don't know how to face myself in that. I don't even like myself in that. When we open without these intercepting voices that are judging and criticizing and holding a false sense of safety and protection by keeping us in patterns that are familiar but limited and restricted and painful, miserable, quite frankly, right? That when we actually just open to these places and we just hold these parts of ourselves, that divine rebalancing starts to happen in glorious and extraordinary ways. And this is the celebration of a life lived in openness, a life lived just sincere and willing and saying yes, whatever life brings. And it's saying yes to the no, right? Knowing that the no's will come, the resistance will come, but it's saying yes to that. It's not making anything about the way that we're living wrong. It's not about, oh, I have a better strategy. It's about dropping the strategy and just being here so fully and embracing, okay, this, okay, this, okay, this, right? Mm. Mm. So the great glory of life is about just constantly reconfirming what the heart already knows. And it's not a reconfirming as a knowledge bank, a mental knowledge bank that's about holding information. It's about recognizing that in every moment we have full access to the wisdom of the heart. And the heart knows, is wise. The heart is free. The heart is love. The heart is already resting, residing in the glory of God. And it's about accessing the part of us that we have learned to turn away from and not somehow trust, which is our deepest intuitive knowing. It's about restoring our intuitive knowing and opening to the full technology of life, being life, living itself, a unified field of life, living itself, experiencing itself, knowing itself, releasing itself, balancing and harmonizing itself, celebrating itself, dancing, singing, being wildly free with itself, facing itself in every single circumstance that life brings forward, that dances as life and death, that dances as the full expression of the seasons of all that is part of life, that our invitation is to be so fully a part of life that we realize that we are life and that life has no resistance to itself, right? How glorious to remember this and to realize that our lived experience and our adventure together is about joining in this and sharing this and celebrating this and not trying to aspire to achieve something and create hierarchies and nonsense ideas of having got somewhere or being better than. How could there be a hierarchy in a field of absolute glorious oneness? There can't be. There cannot be. This is about celebrating together. And this is about opening through all of the ways that we have learned to protect. And actually, particularly about the spiritual ways that we have learned to protect. If I were to share what I have seen in my time away, it would be a deeper and more subtle refinement of the spiritual ways that protection was in place, and a refinement and a releasing and a wilder dance of life. And that allows us to live on the surface of life fearlessly and joyfully and wildly in celebration, and to be able to meet each other more fully in love without fear, to truly love each other and to join in love as love, and to actually then be joined in this field as love and a frequency that has the power to make a difference.